So yeah, I had a fun story from last night.
Yeah?
So basically, I work in a food processing facility. I'm not going to go into very much detail because it's not the internet's business on where I work.
Privacy and whatnot.
Privacy and whatnot, and I'm pretty sure my employer would not appreciate me calling them out on this. Yesterday, we had too many people working the production lines and not enough production lines running. So I just go to my managers. I'm like, hey, you got anything else for me to do? Because I was just going to be bored out of my mind all night. So for the majority of the night, they just had me going around doing odd jobs, creating boxes for one of the other departments, taking cardboard down to the compactor, all that. 5 o'clock rolls around and they're telling me, hey, go over to the opposite wing of the facility. They need you to sanitize a belt. I'm like, okay, yeah, I've done sanitation before. I can do that. I do sanitation every week. This should be pretty easy. Fast forward to me getting over there. They send me over into the chemical room of that area. And they say, hey, get the chemicals you need to sanitize this. And here I am in a room that I'm not authorized to be in, around chemicals that I am neither certified nor trained to handle. So I'm just looking around at these chemicals. I'm like, okay, this it's definitely not this. It's definitely not this. On wash nights, we have these like chemical foamers that we go over everything just to make sure everything's like fully sanitized, because hot water can only go so far.
And you don't want any bacteria to handle, you don't want any bacteria on the food for the next run, because that's just a lawsuit waiting to happen.
You can get salmonella, listeria, all sorts of nasty stuff. So I'm just looking around. I'm like, let's see. Foaming acid, that's definitely not it. Can corrode metal.
The fuck?
Yeah, no, they got some pretty heavy duty stuff in there. There were these like just massive barrels of chemicals that looked like something Walter White would dispose of a body in.
I thought the cleaners they used at my first job were heavy duty. Holy shit. That shit melted the skin on my hands.
Yeah, no, they got that. They got ammonia, like a large amount of ammonia, because the refrigerant at that place runs on ammonia.
Ugh.
Well, ammonia is very good at dealing with temperature. It's like liquid ammonia.
Okay, but at the same time, ammonia smells like cat piss.
Ammonia is also really not good, because if there's an ammonia leak, they gotta evacuate, because it can cause health issues. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is, I was in a room I was not authorized to be in, around chemicals I was not authorized to handle. So eventually I know that the foaming acid is not what I'm supposed to be using, but I'm just wheeling it out, just like, okay, this is definitely not it, is it? And they've got maintenance guys over there, and they're just like, yeah, this thing can corrode metal. No, not this. You guys know what I'm supposed to be using? Nope.
What the fuck?
Great. None of them around there knew what chemical to use to foam it.
And yet they're in the chemical department.
They're not in the chemical department. They're on the opposite wing production.
What the fuck?
That wing has its own dedicated sanitation team. My shift on my side, we're just the ones that does sanitation on our lines.
Yeah,
So we're just scrambling around for like 30 minutes trying to figure things out. They're calling people that know more than them, because even the supervisors there, they don't know what to use for this.
This is the supervisors. They should know this shit.
They don't do the sanitation. It's not their responsibility over there.
Okay, but they should still at least know how to do the stuff, even if it's you know what I mean. If it's not their responsibility, they should at least know what to do.
Yeah.
Because they're the supervisors.
Yeah, and meanwhile, I was just being cautious and mildly stressed, because I'm just here thinking, okay, I could really mess something up if I use the wrong chemicals with this.
Right.
And I don't know how to like mix or fill the chemicals either, because most of those like rolling foamer containers, they were not filled. So I would have had to fill them too. And I'm here just like, I've not done this since like 2 jobs ago. If I get this wrong, I could probably hurt myself or hurt someone else.
Or cause a reaction.
And even if that were to happen, I wouldn't have been liable because...
You don't know what the fuck you're doing. No one else knows what the fuck they're doing.
Yep. I don't know what I'm doing. They don't know what they're doing. And then putting me in this position where I don't know what I'm doing, they would have been liable. And that was something one of my coworkers said afterward, because I'm just like, yeah, so that was kind of wild. But yeah, basically after 30 minutes and us floundering around trying to figure it out, they finally got someone over there that knew what they were doing and just sent me back. So that was an interesting end of my shift.
Okay, so like question, do they like dilute the chemical in like water and whatnot?
I don't know.
Or do they like just like straight up sanitize it with just straight up fully concentrated sanitation shit?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never handled that stuff on my washes. There's another guy that does it, and he brings the portable chemical foamers over to us, and then we're just like, okay, hook it up to an air nozzle, and then just spray the foam on the lines, and then go rinse it after a couple minutes. That's what I was expecting to do when I got over there.
Mm-hmm.
And I got put into a situation that was above my pay grade.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, because I remember back in my first job, when we were doing the safety stuff after an incident at another plant, they had us go over every single little thing. And then we got to the part where we had to, like, we didn't use chemicals specifically, but we did have special coating on the cards that gave them that shine. And there are some customers that require a specific coating. But anyway, they had us go through the chemical portion of employee safety, and they drilled it into our heads that if we're going to be diluting chemicals, you have to pour the chemical in the water. Because if there's a bit of splashback, you'd be getting hit with more water than chemicals.
Yeah, that's what they taught us in high school too when we were learning printing.
When we were in... I'm just straight up calling it graphic design because that's what it was. It was a graphic design class.
It was more printing than graphic design.
There was still graphic design involved.
There was, but
yeah. I was never in the department that handled the coding and whatnot. I've only been in the room once, and that was to ask one of the guys in there to help me change a tire.
If I recall, that room was also like extremely flammable.
It was.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen a couple guys go in there and they'd be in full-on chem suits. Like, something similar to what you would wear during wash nights.
Yeah, no, I was dressed up like a Lethal Company member.
Like, you'd walk by that room, and if the door was open, you could smell the chemicals. You could smell it.
See, another one of my coworkers was also joking, like, hey, you should have just let some of that splash on you, and you would have gotten workman's comp, and they probably would have had to, like, settle, because...
no.
Yeah, no, I was just like, dude, I got too many injury reports already here. They've already written me up for that. I'd rather not get more.
I'd rather my husband come home without chemical burns on his body.
Yeah.
Chemical burns, like, I remember having a chemical burn at one point when we were cleaning the machines for the open house. And, okay, to be fair, the bottle of cleaner was not labeled. I thought it was just your standard household cleaner. And so did my friend at the time when we worked together. And so we just kind of barehanded the wash rag with this cleaner. And then my hands started turning white. And his hands, they were also turning white. But he also said that they were starting to tingle a little.
Ooh, yeah, not good.
So he told one of the guys in our department about it. And he's just kind of looked at him and he's like, oh yeah, that's your flesh melting.
Ugh, yeah.
And he said it in such a joking manner, too. And I'm like, dude, this bottle isn't even labeled. It didn't even tell us to use gloves. So these older guys that worked with us, one of them was dragging us over to this giant sink, and they're just handing us bottles after bottles of saline solution to wash the stuff off of our hands.
Yeah, because if there was any, like, serious injury, that would have been on the company.
Yeah, we're just sitting there washing our hands with saline, and... my hands weren't even burning at this point. It was just the skin on my hands was turning white.
Yeah, they just want to make sure that there's not any left over.
I know, but like, even after we washed everything off, my hands were still white. The skin was still kind of melted. It was like, it wasn't really melted. It was like, it was hardened. not like callus, but not like a calluses, but like
Cauterized.
not
Yeah,
even.
Yeah, it was like chemically cauterized, pretty
Yeah,
much.
chemically cauterized. Like my hands are fine now.
Yeah.
Like they've been fine, but it was an experience, and I think my friend scrubbed his hand hard enough to rub some of the callus off of his palm.
Probably.
But yeah, that was an experience. So like ever since then, whenever I was tasked with cleaning something, like cleaning up some tools for the machine or cleaning glue off of certain parts, I didn't even care if it was just straight up water in a bucket. I put gloves on my hands so I wouldn't have to deal with that kind of shit again.
Yeah, I mean,
Because my god, I don't want to go through that again. I don't want to get yelled at. Even though back then it wasn't even my fault because shit wasn't labeled right.
Yeah, I mean,
And the guy that told us, oh yeah, you got chemical burns, made a huge fucking joke about it. I fucking hated that guy so much. Like, holy shit.
But going back onto workplace injuries, we both had our own stories of workplace injuries.
Yeah, there was a time I sliced my thumb open while opening a box, and you had to take me to urgent care.
Yeah, that was fun.
And we sat in the waiting room for an hour just
Yeah.
for me to get Dermabond on my thumb.
Yeah, basically just...
And they charged me $700 just for walking in the door. And then, they charged me $700 for the room, and then another $400 for the Dermabond and the gauze.
Yeah, that was kind of bullshit.
And they were supposed to send that to my workplace.
Yep.
Because I filed the workers' comp.
Yep.
No, they sent it to me. I'm just sitting there like, okay, I'm just gonna take this to work with me. And I'm like, and so I get to work and I'm like, I go up to our HR/secretary and I'm like, hey, these weren't supposed to come to me. These were from my workplace injury. And she's like, oh yeah, okay, we'll take care of that for you.
Yeah, thank you for not footing me with a $1,100 bill.
Yep, I love her so much. She is like the saving grace of that company.
She is the only good thing about that company. I used to work there. I am glad I don't work there anymore.
Yeah, I'm literally only there because they're the only people that got back to me in time before my severance ran out and school started.
Yep. It's still a good place for you to be because it gives you plenty of time to work on your college stuff.
Oh, correction. It gives me plenty of time to work on college stuff when the owner isn't present.
Yeah, because the owner's a hard ass.
Yeah, no, because I remember one time during downtime, I was pretty sure the owner wasn't even there, so I was taking a summer math class to catch up on my remedials, and I was grinding the shit out of this class. It was my Algebra 2 remedials. And I was getting shit done during whatever downtime that I had. And one point while I'm working on my math, the owner walks into my workplace and he sees me. Now keep in mind, I had no work that needed to be done. The place was already clean. The machines were already refilled. The paper was thrown out. I was just waiting on files to come in for another job.
And they don't pay you enough to go do other stuff like run the presses or anything.
I'm not even trained to run the presses. I can stack down and strap.
Yep.
And I can work with some machines in another department, but I'm not in that department. I don't get paid enough to work in that department anymore.
Yeah.
So like he just kind of looks at me while I'm working on this stuff and I'm just like, I'm just waiting for more work to come in. Don't mind me. And he just looks at me and he's like, you know, if your boss was here and he saw you playing games on your laptop, he'd be pissed. And I'm just sitting there silently. I'm like, I don't have games on my laptop.
This is college work.
This is college work. This is my college laptop. There are games, but it's Bejeweled, and I don't even have that installed. And the boss doesn't care.
No, the boss does not give a shit. He only cares if the owner cares.
He only cares if the owner cares. Whatever, past is in the past. You don't even work there anymore. You're getting paid over twice.
Yeah,
almost twice as you were making when you quit.
Yeah. No, I was only making like $15 an hour when I quit. My new job, I'm making almost double that.
Exactly. When I came back to this place after my severance ended, they were supposed to they were supposed to get me up to 16 after my probationary period ended. I had to wait for months after my probationary period ended to get that 16 an hour.
Yeah.
Because when we got laid off from our one job, I was up to 16 an hour. And that was the deal with getting back with this company, is that they pay me what I was making when I was laid off. Literally, the owner's words. She needs to prove that she can do the stuff in the computer room and in the machine room for me to give her that 16 an hour. our mutual friend is working in that department with me, so he's teaching me all this stuff. He's actively making sure that I am doing the shit right. And I keep apologizing to him because of stuff that I have, because I keep having to ask him to remind me of some stuff, and I feel bad, but he's patient with me, and I appreciate it.
The inattentive ADHD kicking in with it.
Oh my god, I hate it so much. All the Adderall in the world cannot help with my inability to retain information long enough. I don't want to say I have the attention span of a goldfish, because goldfish have great attention spans apparently, but I got the attention span of that rooster from Moana.
You have the attention span of a bird. You take 3 steps, you forget. But yeah, I've had a lot of workplace injuries at this place.
Yeah, I think the only other workplace-related injury, I don't really want to say it's an injury because I didn't have to go to the hospital, but we had downtime and they were low on people in the department that I used to work with. Like, this is me working at this place now, not me working at this place back then. I'm on a different shift, I'm in a different department, but I still have my experience with my old department. And so they asked for me to come down. They had this job running on a saddle stitcher, and you need multiple people working on the saddle stitcher. Because you need multiple people filling the pockets, you need someone to collect the scrap, and you need someone to catch, strap, and stack down, depending on the job. There was only one person working on the saddle stitcher. Because they were so understaffed.
I know that feeling.
No, like, they were so understaffed it wasn't even funny. At that point, you might as well just have the entire department call off.
Yeah.
And there is a reason we have to have someone collect the scrap from underneath, because if that scrap builds up to a point, it's going to catch on the blades, and it's not going to cut right. And it's going to fuck up all of the books that are coming through. There was only 2 of us. There was the team lead on second shift, who was a phenomenal man, I might say. And then there was me. I was stuck catching and taking care of the scrap. At one point, after I throw away a huge handful of, a huge fucking armful of scrap, I slip on a piece of scrap that fell. I did not fall softly either. I fell hard. And I caught myself on the stacking table. But my ribs landed on the corner hard. And I scraped up my arm pretty bad.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah, no, I was fairly certain that I bruised a rib.
You probably did.
Because when I tried to get up, I immediately felt nauseous. And I was very worried. So, I look at the guy and I'm just sitting there I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this anymore tonight. And he's like, it's break time anyway. Just go sit down and see how you're feeling afterwards. And if you can't do it, it's fine. No hard feelings. I was completely fine the next morning.
Well, that's good.
I had, a very faint bruise on my ribs, under my arm. But other than that, I was completely fine.
Yeah. So my workplace injuries, I'm just going to go over the ones that I had at my recent job, because I've had probably more than I'd like.
Mm-hmm.
And enough for supervisors to sit me down of hey, here's an official write-up, because we can't have people unsafe at this place. Because if you're getting, you've got 5 or 6 injury reports over the course of this year.
Mm-hmm.
So my first incident report was the first week I was working there.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sanitation night. We were getting around to rinsing, and one of the other people who was spraying water to rinse off the sanitizing foam, I'm on the other side of the machine. I get hit with the overspray of it.
Ooh.
Some of it gets underneath my goggles, and at that point I'm panicking a little bit, because I'm oh, that stings a little bit. That's probably chemical in my eye.
Oh, Jesus.
Turns out it was probably just
soap.
Either that or just, well, no, it wasn't soap, because the chemical that we're working with is basically bleach.
Oh, it's even worse.
Yeah. If some of that got into my eye, it was super watered down or anything. It might have just been water mixed with sweat.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, I'm not taking the risk of, going blind in one eye. So I go and rinse my eye out for 5 minutes and everything. I was wearing safety goggles. It got underneath my safety goggles.
Mm-hmm.
So I was doing what I was supposed to do, but
Still had to write it up.
well, it wasn't a write up on my end. It was just
Still had to make the report.
Yeah, still had to make an incident report. The next incident report was my legs, because you know how bad my legs were for like half the year.
Yeah.
Basically, my leg hair had chafed off from just all the moving, because I'm at a much more active job than I was like for 8 years, and a mix of just the denim and everything chafing my legs and rubbing the leg hair off, and the rubber sanitation suit doing the same thing but harder.
And the boots.
Yeah. I had assumed it was the boots, because after wash nights I'd feel pretty itchy and stuff too. But I had basically just like itched and scratched off like bits of skin. It was not nice. It looked pretty nasty.
It did.
And unfortunately, I had perpetuated it because
You kept that shit covered for weeks.
Yep, I kept it covered so it wasn't healing.
Mm-hmm.
And because it wasn't healing, it was getting worse.
Mm-hmm.
It was a fun cycle. And I had to do, I think, like 1 or 2 different incident reports with it, because they're just like, that doesn't look good. You need to do something about that. I'm like,
I'm trying.
I am trying.
I'm trying, but nothing's working.
Go to an actual doctor.
I did.
Go to one that knows what they're doing. Okay.
No, you literally just needed to let that shit air out once so it could heal properly.
Yep. The next incident report. I'm lifting a pallet. Some of our pallets are not in good condition.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I can see where this is going.
It wasn't a nail, thankfully. So, because sometimes there are nails that stick out of those.
I wasn't assuming it was a nail.
Splinter?
No.
Well, it was a splinter.
Ooh!
Yeah, there was a very long, like foot-long, broken off piece that, as I'm grabbing this, it just stabs through.
Oh!
Stabs through my cut-resistant gloves and gets a little bit into my palm.
Oh!
So I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. I gotta go down to first aid for this, because I'm pretty sure I have a splinter in there.
Hey,
Hey.
this ain't supposed to happen!
Like, hey, I was wearing all my protective gear and everything. This still happened.
Hey, I got stabbed through my cut-resistant gloves. Can you help me?
They're slash resistant. They are not puncture resistant.
They have slash resistance, not stab resistance.
Yeah. So, that was another injury report. Another injury was wash night. I was trying to lower a, this metal guard underneath that hat. No, not that one. Not that one.
Oh, okay.
That's gonna be the next one.
Okay.
So there was just this metal guard and everything that was filled with cheese.
Mm-hmm.
I go to try and just take the guard off, because like I'm hitting this thing. I'm trying to get the stuff to go out from under it. It's not budging.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever's been running this was not like, they're supposed to make sure this doesn't build up like this. They weren't doing their job right. So I'm just like trying to get this out and get it emptied, because like we got to keep things moving.
Mm-hmm.
So other people are busy. I just take care of this myself. As I lift and move this, more weight than I was expecting comes swinging down, because this thing's basically on hinges. It comes down, smacks me in the elbow.
Oh no! Not the elbow.
Yeah, so I'm like,
Not the elbow.
yeah, so I'm like, that's gonna bruise.
Oh, honey.
But this is technically an injury. I should go report it. So they just put a little bit of ice on it and everything, and then I get back to work later.
Oh, honey. Honestly, I wouldn't have even reported it.
Yeah, well, they have these little safety things of like, hey, if there's an injury, report it to your supervisor. If you don't report an injury to your supervisor, there could be consequences, because they don't want people to be like, yeah, so I didn't report this injury to my supervisor, and actually my foot's broken, stuff like that. The next time I got injured, and the more recent one, the one back in September, whoever had stacked up all the metal guards that they had taken off the machine and put on this table, they did a horrible job doing it. If I had stopped and looked at it for like another couple seconds, I probably would have been like, okay, I need to take these off. But the first thing I noticed was, this table is sitting right over this drain. It really shouldn't. I should move this like a foot over that way. Then I will deal with this mess. So I start pushing it very gently, and then everything topples off. And one of the metal guards hits me in the hand on the way down.
Mm-hmm.
It hits me pretty hard, and almost immediately I'm like, oh, that hurt. And then I look down, and my ring finger is almost immediately black and swollen. And I'm like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
So I go down to the supervisors again. At this point, they're just like,
what did you do this time?
yeah, what did you do this time? You got to stop coming in here for this. Oh, that's not good. They take me over into the first aid room, and as they're trying to like treat it, I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, that's black. Oh, there's some white peeking through that too. It was probably just the pressure of it,
But your brain processed that as, oh, there's some bone sticking out of my finger.
Yeah, something like that. And so brain immediately like blue screened for a moment. So I'm just like,
you straight up fainted.
Yeah, I fainted. So I'm just like, and then fell back
into the chair.
Yeah. Oh no, it wasn't a chair. It was like one of those chairs that's in like a doctor's room.
Oh, so like a cot?
Yeah, it was a cot.
Well, something like a cot, like
Yeah.
an examination cot.
Yeah, I collapsed into that. I get up again. I peek down at that again. And I'm like, okay, back down we go. So they wrap it up so I can't see it. And then they take me out on a wheelchair because I had collapsed twice.
And then it was your supervisor that was driving you to the nearest hospital, right?
It was a supervisor from the other wing. It was actually the same supervisor that I was talking to during the chemical incident from yesterday.
Oh!
But yeah, no, so they take me down to an emergency room that's like a couple miles up the road because they're not sure if I broke my finger. I'm not sure if I broke my finger because I've not injured my hand as badly as I had done before with that.
Mm-hmm. So, like, as you're on your way to the hospital, you're calling me, and you don't even give me any details about what's happening. I just get a call from you, like, 5 minutes after your shift starting, and you're like, hey, so I'm on my way to the hospital. I'm just like, okay, which hospital? I'll go meet you up there? You made me think that you broke your leg, like, weeks before our fucking wedding.
No, worse. I thought I broke my ring finger.
Before the fucking wedding!
Yeah, so that was fun.
So, like, I'm driving, like, 40 minutes to this hospital. I have no idea where emergency room parking is. It's dark as shit, and my night driving is ass.
Yeah. Meanwhile,
So
I'm just sitting around for most of these 40 minutes waiting to waiting to see someone. So I'm just there just rocking back and forth because the shock and the adrenaline of the situation has worn off and the pain is setting in. I'm like, "Oh, this is like it's a throbbing pain running up my arm. This is like a 7 out of 10 for pain. Y'all want to give me anything for this? Oh, an ice pack? Thank you."
Yeah, so, like, I get up to the hospital, and, like, I'm trying to text you, telling you, hey, I'm here, where do I go? And I didn't even realize that signal was very shoddy up there at best, so I'm just, like, sitting outside for, like, 10 minutes waiting for a response. I'm like, please respond, I'm worried about you. Why aren't you answering me? So, like, I bite the bullet, like, 5 minutes after that, and I'm like, so I go up there, I'm like, hey, my husband's here. And he's like, oh, you're looking for Mech? Yes! Where is he? He's like, he's in this room, hon. And so I sit down, I'm like, hey, how are you feeling?
Ow.
I was expecting to see your leg wrapped in a cast.
No, it was my hand.
I was expecting so much worse because of the lack of info you gave me.
Lack of info, lack of response.
Lack of info, lack of response, lack of everything.
And they just had you come out there just so you could drive me back to the workplace once I got cleared. God, they ran the x-ray and then they got me out of there so quick once they saw it, yeah, it's not broken.
Yeah, I'm just sitting there waiting for you to get the paperwork done and just sitting there playing with the melted ice pack.
Yeah.
Like, bloop, 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 bloop.
Yeah, and meanwhile, I'm trying to twist someone's arm to fill out some paperwork that work sent me with because they sent me with some additional paperwork to cover their ass.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, hey, They're not going to be happy if I go back to work empty-handed on this. Can someone fill this out for me?
Right.
Yeah, so American healthcare.
Yeah. Yeah, so they have me drive you back up there just so you can bring your paperwork up there and so you could leave.
Yep.
Because your car is still there.
Yeah, so yeah, they just sent me home after that because I was definitely not going to be working.
I wouldn't be able to.
So yeah, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to get the chemical story in, and then, you know, it just kind of, and then we just kind of yapped from there.
It's fun.
Yes, it was.
It's fun.
Yes.